I was having a hard time after the KO loss with Ricardo Ramos, and I thought I was okay, but I wasn't really, and I ended up fighting as a shell of myself against Vince Morales. I thought my confidence was back from the KO.
Download the AllStar app. Make your picks for UFC fights, challenge your friends, level up and win prizes. Link in description. Get it now.
Man, after your last fight, you signed a
Yes,
new multi-fight deal with the
yeah.
UFC. This is your third contract, man. How does it feel to have the third one? I believe
It's
it's your third one.
it's my third one. That's correct, man. It feels
Yeah.
amazing, especially like the average UFC career is like what, two fights, three fights, I don't know. So it feels really nice to still be in there, and thank you obviously to Sean Shelby and Dana and UFC. I'm very happy to be working with them, and they've been treating me good so far. And like now, I got this great opportunity to kind of like move up. I feel like me and Javid were both like in the top 20, so it's gonna be nice to see who gets out of this pool and gets a push up.
Definitely, definitely. And you mentioned being in this position, but not too far back, you're on a two-fight, back-to-back losing streak. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
brutal.
being in, yeah, brutal. You're right, and you were in that position, right? It was like
Yeah.
a stressful, a lot of pressure, and then you bounce back. What clicked for you? Do you believe?
I was having a hard time after the KO loss with Ricardo Ramos, and I thought I was okay, but I wasn't really, and I ended up fighting as a shell of myself against Vince Morales. I thought my confidence was back from the KO, but it wasn't, man. So like I had to do like a deep search into myself, and I was reading books, and I was just trying to figure things out for myself. And I had read this really good book, and it gave me a really nice mantra. It's, I love the pain. The pain will set me free. And I kept saying that, and I kept facing the pain, and then I transformed it into I love the fear. The fear will set me free, because there's that anxiety that comes with fighting, right? Because George St. Pierre has the best quote in MMA. It's not the better fighter who wins; it's who fights better that night. So it's hard to be at your best mentally, physically, and spiritually on fight night every single time. But you gotta do what you can to put the probability in your favor, and those mantras really help me out. And obviously, I'm getting ready in training camp. I'm pushing my body and all those things. But I've learned to accept that there's always gonna be fear and anxiety, and the only way to get over it is to face it and live it. Like now, I'm excited to live it. I can't wait to go there the next week and live the experience, man. I'm just gonna be so happy to go out there fight week, cut the weight. I'm excited. It's all gonna go well. I'm gonna get my clothes. I'm gonna sign I'm gonna sign the posters. I know what it's like. Like when I signed to the UFC, I had only 6 pro fights. Now I have 6 fights in the UFC. So like now I'm gonna have more fights in the UFC than I've had before the UFC. So I feel like a veteran now. I feel like one of those guys now who I'm happy to get a fight. I'm excited about the fight. I'm excited about the challenge and going through camp and just having the blessing of living this life.
Is it a lot of it is just embracing like the atmosphere and the pressure and making the pressure
Yeah.
like good pressure for yourself?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta use the pressure as fuel. This is the thing that I realize, because when I had the perfect record, I was so stuck on, yeah, I'm gonna be undefeated forever and this and that. Then when I lost that first one, it hurt deep. It hurt really deep. And then when I lost the second one, I was like, oh, it really takes the wind out of your sails. But then with it being the last fight on my contract and my back against the wall, and then Draco missing weight by almost 5 pounds, like 4.5 pounds, and I was lucky because it's hard to take a fight when a guy misses weight by so much. Like 1 or 2 pounds, it's no problem, but 4.5 pounds, like barely tried. He's 10 years younger than me, so anyways, luckily, Sean Shelby offered me a new contract to take that fight and with better money. So I took it. And then when I knocked him out in round one, they gave me the performance bonus. So like really it changed my whole life. And then I was like, oh, okay, great. Had all this momentum. So I like invested in myself, and I prepared really well. And then I won the next fight, and then I won the next fight. And now I got a new contract. So I'm just trying to reinvest in myself, invest in my training camp and my team, and just keep the good times rolling.
Yeah, you mentioned earlier about your upcoming opponent, Javid Basharat. You know, what I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot. I guess I don't want to say there's a lot on the line, but there's a lot of rewards for the
Yeah.
winner of this fight. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And is he the perfect opponent for you to kind of build your name off of?
I mean, he's a good opponent because he's 15-0. right? He's got a lot of hype behind him. He's got a lot of clout behind him. I think it's a great fight for me, just as much of a great fight for him in terms of like I'm coming off 3 fight win streak. He's coming off 3 fight win streak. So like whoever wins this, like you've got crazy potential for sponsorships, for better matchups, for a potential chance to fight in the top 15. So it's a really good opportunity for me. So I'm taking it full stride. I'm seeing it as positive that like UFC believes in me still. UFC still they're pushing me like on the right tracks. If I win this fight, boom, like I'm in there with the top guys. So I'm really excited about that. And he's gonna be a good test. I feel like he's a cerebral fighter, and I think he's also well rounded. He's good on the feet. He's got great takedowns, defensive wrestling as well. Like he's hard to take down. He also gets back off of his back really well. He has a good top game, ground and pound, things like that. I think this is more like a fight for the fans who understand strategy and tactics a little bit more. I feel like we're both more on the cerebral side. We're not two guys going in there to just bang it out. So I feel like this is gonna become down to who has a deeper game and who has the better problem solving skills.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, you're right, man. This is a high level fight right here, and Basharat's last fight against Victor Henry. How did you
Yeah,
think he looked before the groin strike ended the fight?
man. That was, I think, in my opinion, his biggest test. Which is, there's nothing wrong with saying that. I feel like Victor Henry's a really seasoned fighter with a lot of experience, and he's still doing super well. And it kind of sucks that fight didn't play out because it would have given me a lot more ammo. It would have given me a lot more tools to work with. Like in terms of video. And but I thought Javid won round one, but it wasn't a blowout either. And I feel like because there were two experienced guys, they were still feeling each other out. Like nobody really stepped on the gas yet, but I did give the edge to Javid. I feel like he outpointed him really well, and just Victor couldn't find enough range to land enough strikes to give himself the round.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the groin strike ended the fight. What's the hardest you've been hit in the groin? Is it in
Oh
practice or is it in a fight?
man, one time Zach Makovsky hit me in the groin so hard with his knee, and I didn't have a cup on. I couldn't move for 10, 15 minutes. And my brother thought I was faking it. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I was in I couldn't even breathe. I was just holding my breath. I was curled up in a little ball. I couldn't believe it. And I had never been hit in the groin so hard. And ever since then, I work up.
Yeah, yeah, I would too. I would too.
Yeah.
Your last fight, man, last June, you took on the
Yes.
the Mongolian murderer, took him out
Yeah.
in the first round as well. I mean, it seemed
Man.
like they underestimate you. The last three fights, they kind of underestimated you. The betting odds, whatnot.
The
So
betting
how
odds.
did
Yeah.
it
The
feel
betting
to?
odds for
Yeah,
sure. The betting odds for
yeah,
sure, man. But I felt like my opponents didn't underestimate me because I felt like, especially in the last two fights, I feel like they game planned for me really well, and they came out different than I expected them to. So that was really interesting because I had to problem solve in the fight. Like I really didn't expect Ricky Tercios to do so much head movement and to really avoid the boxing with me. I really felt like if you watch his other fights, he gets in there and he wants the fight to be a barn burner and he wants to go toe to toe and he's willing to trade. He's willing to wrestle hard and to go nose to nose. And I felt like Eric Kilang, he was gonna like try to play more the counter game with me because he's got a devastating right hand. I feel like he's got big power in his right. And in my opinion, I think that's his best tool to win is his right hand. Like he puts people out, he rocks them, he drops them. And when he came out with low kicks, I was like, why isn't he throwing the right? Like I was like, 'cause I prepared for him to throw the right so I could do something about it. But then he's throwing low kicks. I was like, okay, so I ended doing a good counter to that, which was nice. But I adapted in the fight. I adapted in the moment, and I feel like that's something that Faraz and I have adapted in the last 3 fights is that instead of having too much of a rigid game plan, that if the guy comes in prepared for me in his own perspective of me and he changes the way he fights, if I'm too rigid, it'll hurt me mentally. That oh no, he's not doing what I expected. What should I do? What should I do? To now we're having more like of a general game plan and ready to problem solve in the fight, ready to adapt in the fight. Whatever they bring up, I'm gonna have a different paths to victory.
yeah, man. You definitely showed that in the last three, and since that fight, you've been pretty busy helping your teammates, right? It seems like you've
Yeah,
been in many camps.
yeah, many camps. I was just in the Arnold Allen camp for Mofsar, and that was a tough one, man, because Arnold. Let me tell you something. He's bigger than he looks on TV. He's a big, strong boy, man. 145. He's so strong. He's so strong, and like I had to keep my weight high because or else I'd fall apart. Like I wouldn't be able to wrestle him and spar him every week. And you know, Arnold has punching power, man. I don't care what anybody says. This boy hits hard, and like a lot of guys, they were falling apart. They couldn't stick to the because he found out. Sorry, he found out about the fight 3 months before, so he had a 3 month camp, and not nobody made it the whole 3 months but me. Like I thank God I survived that camp with Arnie. He's so good. But it was nice because as we were transitioning out of his camp, boom, it became my camp. So I was already on the ball. I was already doing the right thing. So it was easy to take the fight and get ready for this one.
It must have been nice to have that extra weight too. You know, what I mean, being comfortable, a little bit
Oh
more
yeah, it's so
comfortable.
nice. It's so nice being bigger, but I'm not a 45er, that's for sure. Those
Yeah, for
guys,
sure.
if they're all Arnie's size, they're too big for me, man.
Yeah, outside of helping people with camp, did you like cross train or anything like that? Did you venture out from
I
TriStar?
didn't venture out for the like before my camp, but during my camp, I brought in some guys. I brought in one FC champion, kickboxing champion Jonathan Di Bella.
Yeah.
So I brought him in for sparring. I brought in one FC champion Thanh Le. I brought in Ryan Hall for the jiu-jitsu, and I also brought in Said Yakub Kakramanov. So I had all these guys coming in and give me their perspective on Javid and problem solving the different paths to victory, and just getting ready and closing my holes wherever they see the holes because we watch tape on me to see what do they think my opponent will strategize against me. What do you think he'll come out? What's the best strategy to beat me? So we're always troubleshooting from those angles. And what's nice is I bring in guys who have different perspective because if it's just me for us doing the game plan, we end up having too much of like the similar thoughts. So we need someone from the outside to see my weaknesses too, or to see the weaknesses in Javid because they have their own solutions, right? Like if you ask a contractor who leans maybe more towards like carpentry versus another general contractor who's maybe more of a better electrician, they'll give you different solutions to the same problem. So it's nice to bring in all these experts and we brainstorm together and we come down to a final solution.
Yeah, bringing in Saeed, man, that I don't understand how the UFC cut him. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean? Like
know.
that dude
We're
is
trying to get
good.
him back in. Listen, we got him in karate combat right now. He's brushing up on his striking. His wrestling is phenomenal. You've seen him take down so many
Yeah,
guys,
so
and
good.
I think his striking is really leveling up. He was just here for my camp now. It was great to have him, honestly, and I think he's so young. He's 27, man. The chances of him getting back in the UFC, I think, are high if he continues to win in karate combat and perform well and prove that he's not only a wrestler, he can knock people out, which he did. First fight in karate combat, he got a KO.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
so
And Jonathan Di Bella, man, when you say that name, the kind of like the movement and the body type and the stance, there's some similarities to that, right? I know, Javid is an MMA fighter, but Jonathan Di Bella, man, I'm pretty sure he could imitate him.
Jonathan, he's super. Like I was telling people 10 years ago, he's the best striker in Canada, and they're like, "Nah, you sure? You sure? You sure?" Now he's world champion, man. Yeah, he has a karate background too, so he could imitate the style. But what was good about Jonathan DeBella is that he has such an amazing work rate in sparring, and if you watch his fights, like his work rate is so high, and it's a much higher work rate in kickboxing than it is in MMA because in kickboxing you're not worried about the guy shooting a double. So like you can stand in front of each other and throw more and not worry about anybody shooting into your hips, right? So with him, obviously we're not doing any takedowns. So it was really nice to just deal with that level of striking output so that hopefully like when I go to fight Javid and he gives me the MMA striking output, it seems like nothing. Like I had to withstand Jonathan's storm of thousands and thousands of strikes per minute. This guy, he's like he's a machine. Ta, 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 ta. You watch his title fights. It's insane how much output there is, and he never gets tired. And I was asking him because like sometimes when you bring in kickboxers. Their fights are 3 minute rounds and MMA fights are 5 minute rounds, right? So like when you do back to back rounds with kickboxers in a 5 minute time frame, they seem to get tired, right? Because let's say do a 3 round fight, it's 9 minutes. 3 rounds of 5 minutes, 15 minutes. Like now, all of a sudden, like in championship rounds, if they're not a title fight guy, they don't experience that. And after the first day I did with John, we did like 5 rounds in a row. And I was like, man, I'm like, your cardio is phenomenal because I'm bigger than him too, right? Like he fights, I think, at 125. And I'm bigger than him, and it didn't show at all in terms of cardio. Like in terms of his cardio, it didn't bother him. Like, man, I'm like, you do 5 minute rounds? He's like, no, I do 6 minute rounds. He's like, I do double the time I need for my fight. He's like, if I have to fight for 5 rounds of 3 minutes, I do 5 rounds of 6 minutes. He's like, I don't want to ever get tired in my fight, so I always do double. I always do more. And it's nice to have another guy who's got like great work ethic, and who's a world champion. And Thanh Le too. Thanh Le's work ethic is through the roof, man. He's, in terms of taekwondo, man, he's one of the best in the world now. Like it's incredible. He has knockout power with both hands, Thanh Le, both feet. I'm really, really interested in his fight. He's fighting March 1st against Tang, which is going to be a really interesting fight because Tang really got him with the low kicks in the first one. And we have some ideas for Tan to really turn this fight around.
Yeah, man. I was there for Jonathan Di Bella's last title defense in Bangkok. I watched him live, and his team is phenomenal, man. They're great
Yeah,
people, and yeah, it's good vibes, right? To have someone like
yeah,
that in
yeah,
camp. Thanh Le too, man. He's world champion for a reason.
yeah.
What's your expectations out of yourself in this fight coming up?
My expectations is that I'm gonna live it in the moment. I'm not gonna let my conscious thoughts get in. I'm gonna be just in there, focused on Javid, and doing the work that needs to be done to win. Like I'm gonna stick to what I have to do and not get distracted by anything. Like I don't know if he's gonna do it with me, but in other fights, like he talks, or he'll go like this, or he'll say no, like you land a punch, and like kind of like not as much as Ricky, but like he'll try to like say stuff and do stuff and whatever. I don't know. But I'm not gonna pay any attention to anything. Like the way I was with Ricky, it's like you can say whatever you want, but who's winning this fight? Who's in here focused on the fight, doing the work that needs to be done to come out as a winner? That's what I'm just going in there to fight and to do everything I can at every moment to win the moments and add them up, compound them into a victory.
All right, one last thing, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, the mental edge. Do you think there's a
Yes.
mental edge in the fight between Sean O'Malley and Chito Vera coming up at UFC 299?
Man, you know, there should be. There should be, but I feel like uh Sean is he's done a really good job of believing in himself. And I do think that he reinvests the money into his team and in his training camp to really overcome stuff. And I feel like he's gonna be super strong mentally. I don't think that's gonna be the issue. I feel like the issue is gonna come down to durability. You know, that's his weakness is more like physical durability. And when it comes to Cheeto's a strong, tough dude, and he can go all night physically. But I don't think personally that Cheeto's as fast and dynamic as Sean. So it's interesting because they're both really good fighters, well-rounded fighters, but they have opposite strengths. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, Sean is got great KO power, really, really fast. But on the other side, Cheeto's super patient, very conservative, durable, can go all night, can bang all night, take punches, give punches, boom, 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 boom. So it's like they're two opposite strikers fighting each other, and it's like a really interesting. You have to watch this fight. UFC 299 is a crazy card. We all gotta tune in. I give a slight edge to Cheeto, man, because I think at the top level, I really feel like defense wins fights, and durability really counts for a lot. And I think that there will be a slight edge to Cheeto, but I'll never count out Sean O'Malley. Like early on in Sean's career, I wasn't sure about him. But now he's earned his place, man. He's doing great. He's doing great. Listen, he might knock out Cheeto. I'm not saying he
Yeah.
can't knock him out. I'm just saying if you're making me choose, I'm choosing Cheeto, but I can see Sean getting a finish too.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. I look at it as like, the durability thing. It's like Cheeto and Sean are like two cars just crashing into each other. Who's
Yeah,
gonna last longer after they
yeah,
crash about 5 or 6 times? Cheeto, like
And
he's
that's what
proven
I'm.
it, right?
Listen, that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm
Yeah.
thinking.
But then
But
Sean has that, you know,
that's
that
not what
precision.
he has more of a chance in terms of he has more of a one punch chance than I think
Yeah.
Chito has a one punch chance. But I think in terms of volume,
Mm.
Chito, man, it's great. It's a great fight. We gotta watch it. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great fight. This fight you have coming up, great
Thank
fight,
you.
March 2nd, UFC Fight Night. Thank you so much, Amy, for the time and all the best in the fight. And hopefully we
Thank
see
you.
you like 3 times this year, man. That's what I'm
Inshallah,
expecting.
man. God willing, we'll get in there a few times this year.